South Africans all over this continent and around the world were worried about a possible deduction of 3 points has ended up with South Africa triumphant. Not only triumphant in the 3 points we've gotten, the 2 goals we've scored, the supporters that sing in a lonely voice but are joined by almost 60 million South Africans out in Abidjan. We hear your voices, you hear ours. There he is, the man that is taking us to the promised land. It's Hugo Bruce with his Bafana Bafana boys. A favor is normally what South Africans ask for. Calculators is normally where we rely on the most. But when you do what you're supposed to do, which is what Hugo Bruce and Bafana Bafana have done, collect points time and time, show up in every game, go on an 18-game unbeaten streak, everything else comes together. I can tell you that in the 2 other games in our group, Group C, Nigeria have drawn Zimbabwe, meaning a point each. A huge favor being done there for Bafana Bafana that we don't need, mind you. Lesotho has drawn Rwanda 1-1, meaning a point each. Darren, it is a good day.
It's a glorious day for South Africa. It couldn't be better.
Yeah. That man there, coming on in the second half, didn't need to do the business because already done by Jaden Adams, scoring 2 in 2 matches. And of course, you've also have Lyle, who had a good game. Percy, who had a good game. You had, the young Mufokeng had a good game, but that's not for me to say. You watched it. The second 45 minutes, a little bit different. It felt like there was a bit of impotence.
We really looked like a team that wanted to win the match. And from the first whistle, we did mention that we are in control. But control without goals, control without threatening the last line of defense, it doesn't feel like a control. But when I saw we score that 1 goal, it really defined this match. You can tell that this is a team that really came and played, because we dominated every department. It was just a matter of us finding that last line and last pass. And I thought in the first half that last pass let us down.
But also, you could tell that they needed to be a mentality change as well. Mhlambe, what had happened earlier, you saw Tebogo Mokoena sitting in the stands. You know, the guys obviously knew what was going on. There was a mind shift in the second half. Percy Tau, the hard runner in that first half, you were even saying a little bit slow, a little, dragging, but the second half was different. The halftime talk must have been great.
It was totally different, and I think, of course, Hugo Bruce, I think his plan was the first half to make Benin very tired. And then, of course, we mentioned, that the game, when they played against Lesotho, playing through the windows, the tiki-tack football, they weren't doing in the first half. And then in second half, you saw clearly what was happening. And this gave them motivation. This gave them options to come into the danger area in the box. And this is why Lyle Foster scored the first goal. It shows that the quality of his players. Now, for also the coach, you got to give him credit. For him to understand, the game plan, which worked out perfectly for his team to win 2-0.
We'll show you what the group looks like with 3 points for Bafana Bafana. 13 points is what they've amassed in the qualifier. Still that one lonely loss versus Rwanda. But before that, let's get into some of the moments that intrigued the 2 gentlemen in studio. Guys, it was Rile who was possibly the most active in this first 15-20 minutes, and that's why you see here in the 8th minute, taking it on, taking the players on. This is the window you speak of here.
I love when the dribblers dribble going forward. This is a positive run that you eliminate players in lines, and that for me, I think they need to work on it, especially the last moment where that pass needs to be. You get the chance, terminate your attack, because after eliminating so many bodies, make sure that you finish your attack. You can't afford to lose the ball in the last line, because it's difficult to get into that last line. For you to get there, make sure that that moment you terminate the attack.
That was in the 8th minute, but it was an all South Africa attack in the first half. We might not have so much of the ball, but when we did, we definitely were the bright spark of that one. Darren, talk us through this moment here. This is Lyle Foster this time around.
No, you see the ball played, and see the pace, and he puts his body in the line, and of course wins the ball, and he keeps on going into the box. And then of course he has a vision for Percy Tau. And it's just a pity that Percy Tau's touch going towards goal was well defended. But you can see, the boys, they wanted to score, they wanted to get that 1-0 on early goal. You know, the effort was there, and of course, it was a little bit more clever, intelligent from Percy Tau.
Yeah.
You know, not to actually, kick the ball against the defender. It would have been a different situation.
There's a movement that he made that to open up that space thoroughly. At first, he dummied the defender as if he going to the bar line, which is a moment where he created that space for him. I've seen this goal in previous match against Lesotho where he makes 2 runs, and it's difficult when you look at his run where he is. I love how Lyle managed to win this ball. He's such a player. Look at this run.
Yes,
did you see that?
Yes, I saw that.
To create moments, you can't have 1 run, and I think most strikers, even in the PSL, they have that 1 run. It's easy to mark. To have this 2 many runs, start to 1 dummy is for the defender.
He's top of the box now, so take a look at Percy.
Yeah.
So Percy Tau is now, he goes long, and then he comes short.
This is the run.
This is the run, yeah.
Because the first one is the dummy, it's for the defenders. This one is for us to score. It's just unfortunate that the defenders was aggressive enough to block the ball, but it was going to be a nice goal.
A nice goal, yeah.
In 90 minutes, and this is the second game now. You started off with the Lesotho game. Our defenders, the back four, not quite tested, unchanged for this matchup. I'm not quite sure if you could say they were tested in this matchup, because the only moment there were notable moments was in the 17th minute in the first half. The header that comes on, and you look at that from Julian Oedalo. Even that, a chance perhaps if he puts it down, maybe you said?
Yeah, I said if he had just a little of intelligence, when the ball comes across, to bring it down, maybe on his right foot, and then pass the keeper and then shoot, it would be a different situation. But again, our defense, they've been very solid, they've been very stable at the back, and then in games you are going to have situations where they're going to be maybe just not concentrated at that second. And this is what happened. At second, the ball came. I think our defenders weren't focused at that point. And then you get caught off guard. But luckily, as I said, the intelligence wasn't up there for him to control the ball properly and finish off.
And Daryl, when still on that point, we always say when there's no pressure on the ball, you can't hold a high line. I think with that is going to be a big lesson for the Hugo Bruce and the boys to say the ball is higher up, there's no pressure on the ball. You can't allow the defenders or the strikers to receive behind you. And that one, if, like you said, the player was intelligent enough to control it and hit it, he was gonna head us. But I think that's a big lesson for the defenders to say any ball he must receive in front of them. It's easy to deal with the player facing his own goal.
That was Julian Oedalo, the 22-year-old who plays his football out in French League 2. He's scored a couple of goals for his national team in the 24 matches that he's played, 6 of them. But we move on to, when you speak about decisions, he could have, but he did the decision to header. We had the same opportunity with Mudel. And Mudel is a person that we know can score goals. So one wonders when he's got the ball inside the box. Is it a thing of in 2 minds? Do I score? Do I cross? You've got Lyle Foster very frustrated in this moment.
Yeah, the first touch of Mudau was bad, and then he knows that, I'm sure wherever he is, he knows that's a big chance, because in a match of this, in a away match, any opportunities you must take it, because you never know how many chances you're gonna get. This is the moment. It worked so hard for you to come here because he's a fullback. To run 40 years to get there, you must make sure that you finish your touch. You must get that touch right, and for him to control it, not that ball, he didn't kill it. Make sure that that slight chance, put it in the box where it's going to hurt the defenders. And I think with that, he let himself down.
It was in the 8th minute that we saw the first impetus of attack from South Africa. But when the second half started, on the 45th minute, already we saw Lyle going up front. We saw an all-out attack. I think Kambo was making a point that Hugo Bruce doesn't have a defensive mode. It's all go mode. And you saw it here. Early on in the second half, we come out and already running. Lyle Foster here makes the run, gets the ball. Great opportunity there.
I think, of course, Hugo Bruce in change room probably said to the players that, we have to win this game. You can't go home with a 1 point. We need the points. And you can see I think the motivation, of course, on how he came across the players when they came out in the second half. This shows you clearly that they wanted to score. And I mention again, that ball was played through the windows. So the minute they start playing the ball through the window and they tiki-taki, that's when South Africa is good. That's when Bafana Bafana create opportunities, and they almost created one now at this situation because the ball was getting played through. In first half, they weren't doing it. But then second half, you saw constantly they will keep on doing that. And this is how we created 2 goals.
And I think it goes down to the two midfielders in Mbata and
Yes.
Obas. When they look forward, when they play for the striker, we look dangerous. And it happened in patches in first half. But in second half, as you said, they kept it, and they were looking for the strikers. So that Lyle run, he forced the player to play me. I'll go and have the short target, because if the striker says I'm short, he needs to play wherever he is. But I was happy to this.
Well, the goal did come. This is the 52nd minute here where we see the goal. It's a combination of a play here from Sibisi, who gives us the long cross. Basadine then crosses and Lyle scores. It took forever to go into goals. I must tell you, me and the guys are hard but it did finally go in. Lyle Foster, the 24-year-old who plays his football out of Burnley, last scored his 6th goal was against Congo, November of last year.
Yeah.
His 7th goal this.
This is why I said to him, it'd be good for him to score today, and he did. But what fascinated me and was world class is his pass from Sebisi. Look at that pass. Of course, and then of course from Basadine, the way he played the ball into the danger area to Lyle Foster. This is something that you cannot teach. You have a talent for it.
Which is the run.
Well, the pass.
the pass
The
from
run.
Basadine.
Look at the pass. First he looks up, and this quality pass to Lyle Foster. Huh?
You need to have that technique.
You need to have that technique as a player that plays on the wing, left wing or right wing, to have that kind of quality.
And it's a skill that you have to practice a lot, that one, to have a connection with the ball. While running, the weight of the pass has to be properly into the foot of the striker. And if you don't get it right, you'll end up missing that opportunity. And that's a half an opportunity where a lot of strikers can't get that, and a lot of wingers can't get that pass right.
Well, let's take a look at it with this illustration here, Sabo.
Yeah. What's key here is Lyle Foster. Darren spoke about how a typical number 9 he is. He pinned the two centre back to make sure that he break the offside line.
Yeah.
If you look at that, he made sure that the offside line is broken for Basati to break that line. For him to be free is because of Lyle Foster. For him to be on the offside line, he made sure that it's easier for him to burst into box, because he's got an upper hand. You see, he started offside, and when the ball is wide, that's where he's first on into the box.
But one thing you must see very carefully, when he makes a run into the box, Lyle Foster, he makes his run in front of the defender.
To slow down.
His run straight. I
It's
don't
offside.
think he would have scored that. But he ran in front to get himself in front. So when the ball came across, it was easy for him just to tap.
That was smart movement. That was smart movement.
Camera goes to Debs there. Obviously a big reason to win this game was the added motivation for the boys. You see, it's still not he's here.
Big reliever.
You see him when we score the second goal. Because at the moment, Debs is just here. He's just, yes, I'm happy we scored this one.
Yeah.
But I mean, of course, this was the 53rd minute here that we saw that one there. We were to score our second. In just a bit, but Darren, this is the one you're speaking about here. That's the movement where he gets
You
in
see
front.
clearly the movement he runs in front of the defender. See the ball comes across.
Yeah.
Basadine, picks up his hair well and then plays the ball in the danger area.
Yeah.
And you see where Lyle Foster is.
Yeah.
He's not on the side of the defender. He gets in front of him.
And he attacked that first
And he takes that first box.
and that's where the goal started.
And that actually helps him to actually score that. Because I'll mention 1,000 times, if he kept on running straight,
He wasn't going to get it. No, he wasn't going to get it. He wasn't going to get it. Yeah.
2-0 is how it would end. So that was the first of the goals to coming from Lyle Foster. That one there, he needed to break, his spell of not scoring for Bafana. But you said you said to him.
Oh no! In the beginning of the match, he said, "I wish."
Oh, I thought you were saying to him, buddy.
No, I said I wish that he scores,
Because it was important for him.
Yeah. And you can see it showed. I think that the rock on his shoulder, that all the critics that he was probably getting has fallen off.
And as a number 9, you need your number 9 to get on the score sheet, because it boosts your confidence.
Because he doesn't score here again, then it's why isn't it Ikram starting? He's scoring is a lot more. You know what I mean? So I get what you're saying. But let's go to the second goal now. Jaden Adams, 2 goals in 2 games. He comes on as a substitute in this here game, and he proves that, hey, it wasn't a fluke. One of the most talented young players, 23 years old, scoring this goal here.
I must give credit to the coaches, man. This is coming from the bench, because these are 2 substitutes. They came and revived this match and give it a spark that we really needed. Of course, Jaden is such an intelligent player, and he knows how to time his run, time his jump. As short as he is, he wins a lot of duels in the Premier League in terms of heading the ball. And I've watched him closely. What I like about him is the intelligence of finding moments. A lot has been you will undermine him in terms of how he challenged the ball, but take nothing away from the delivery, Delron.
Don't
Show
go
you
one
my
at a time.
this one.
Oworo, we got to speak about that defense there.
Yeah.
Delron, you said from the get-go, you watched them against Lesotho.
Yeah.
Not great defensively. One of the shortest people on that pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, the other shortest one is crossing the ball in Apollos. But I mean, look at them. There they are there. Exactly. He comes on very late on, 75th minute when he comes on there for Percy Tau.
Yeah.
But one of the shortest guys on the field scores that goal.
I was speaking to Shlomo, and of course I said to him, he scored a header.
Yeah.
And he's one of the shortest guys.
Yeah.
And Shlomo knows him very well.
Yeah.
And apparently his judgment towards ball, challenging plays that are taller than him,
He's smart.
is extraordinary.
He's smart.
It's seldom that you have a short player that can win duels in the air.
He's smart.
And it shows the quality of him. I watched him the last game that they played, he's so composed on the ball. He has vision, he has quality. He knows when to dribble at the right moment.
Yeah.
He knows when to pass at the right moment. He comes in, his first touch he kept it simple.
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't come and do fancy stuff. He kept it simple. It shows with a 23-year-old.
Maturity.
He's on a different level.
Yeah.
A different level. Yeah. For me, at the moment, one of the best defenders, midfielders that we have at the moment at
that position,
in that position.
Wow, Jaden, but we have a stroke of genius as well here. Hugo Bruce. We always say he's not always quick with the substitutions. He's a man that marinates in the game. And when he does make those substitutions, impactful.
I did say when after seeing that goal that I have to give the technical team that goal that belongs to them after they making those changes, because after relieving Mofuke to give him a breather with Apollos gave the right back a tough time, and now with the delivery, of course. You can tell that he's fresh from the bench. He's fresh. He didn't start the last match. He's still fresh. The delivery is good. The moments in the box, of course, they were between the defenders. You can't mark that, especially when the delivery is good. I used to marvel how that the Pito used to tell us about that in CAF competition. That is how you win football matches, in set piece, in making sure that you always visit the box of the opposition. And I can say in the second half, we managed to visit that box a lot, and with a lot of intention to say we want to terminate our last ball.
And that's the conversation, because one of the most scrutinized coaches is Hugo Bruce. Here at the SABC, of course, he comes on as a friend of the room, as a stuff.
I love him.
We're always protecting, what is a treasure for the national team at the moment. The question was, why would Apollos not start after all the performances given for Bafana? And I think when you look at that is an answer to that. But the other answer that we've been seeking is, how are we going to deal with the other teams in the group? Well, all we can do is win our games. And Bafana Bafana have continuously and constantly done that. But it doesn't hurt when your neighbors, hey Zimbabwe, how you doing?
How you doing?
Doing you a favor as well. Let's look at the match between Rwanda and Lesotho. 2 goals scored in that one, and luckily for South Africa, they were scored in both ends, which allow us, to stretch that lead at the top even further here. Yeah. You saw this a little bit earlier, Dora. I'm going to come with you with this one. Poor defending here.
No, this is very amateur defending. A ball comes across, and of course, you as a defender, the last man, and you expect the ball to bounce. You can't afford to let the ball bounce. You got to kick it away, like back into the stands. Yeah. But that ball bounces. He gets in front of the defender, takes the ball. You can see the ball coming out.
Not once.
Bounce again.
Yeah.
And he gets in front. Yeah. This is a very, very amateur defending.
Yeah, for me, I think they let themselves down. And I think when they look at this, the goal, how they consider the goal, I'm sure they were not going to be happy with it. Had they dealt with this ball, whoever knows, maybe they got that goal. Yes. If they win the match. But I believe that could have dealt with by making sure that the ball doesn't bounce. As a centre back, you can't allow the ball to bounce.
Well, the ball did bounce, and 1-0 it was. And this is just before the 60th minute. Rwanda might have thought a little bit later on that the game was secured, but it wasn't to be. Lesotho coming back and stunning them towards the end of that match. Their 1-1 is out, and this is how the goal went through. Remember, they are way out in Rwanda, 81st minute there. Quite a stinger, Shompo, here in this time. Once again,
they all count.
How and why?
Well, I think it goes back to the last line of defense. If you don't deal with the first ball, make sure you deal with the second ball. And if you allow the ball to bounce like that in your box, I mean, where is the center midfielder to collect the second ball there? Of course, the Lesotho team, they created the moment out of nothing. And we always say, force your issues, you'll score goals.
You see clearly everyone is ball watching. As the ball bounces, ball watching, comes across, again ball watching. But for us, it was good.
Oh, Sohana Fatwan scoring that goal. There's Sohana Fatwan, and it ends 1-1. Well, there's one more game. It's Zimbabwe who are away to Nigeria. One game after what we saw Victor Osimhen doing in the last match, people thought, hey, they back. Nigeria going to be the thorn that South Africa would need to deal with. We didn't have to, because this time around, it was Zimbabwe that did so. We'll show you that match when we come back. This is Bafana Bafana. 3 points out in Cote d'Ivoire. Abidjan beating Benin by 2-0. The goal scorers, Lau Foster and Jaden Adams, getting his second in 2 games. Hugo Bruce and Bafana Bafana collecting all 3. But here's the good news. Nigeria being held by Zimbabwe, very much like with the Rwanda-Lesotho game, a late goal in the Zimbabwe-Nigeria game.
A late goal that, we love as South Africans because it gave us, breathe a little bit. We know that it's in our hands now. We have to deal with Nigerians. We have to deal with them. They're owing us big time.
Victor Osimhen scoring in the 74th minute. 90th minute, Chirewa scores. And you remember him in Bloemfontein, Chirewa. He was a handful.
He troubled us big time. And we even said you can tell the difference between him and the rest of the Zimbabwean squad that he plays in the highest level in England. At 21-year-old, he's still a lot to improve, but you can tell that he's got something in him.
True. Darren, this is something that we learned going into the Africa Cup of Nations. There are no small teams in Africa. Because you look at this, and you look at Rwanda being challenged by Lesotho in that way. You look at a mighty Nigeria. Remember where they finished off at AFCON?
Yeah.
With the likes of Victor Osimhen, a part of that team, being held by Zimbabwe.
You know, Anita, those days are gone where you can just come against Zimbabwe or such teams, Lesotho, and walk all over them. Football has changed dramatically. You know, every single country become so competitive. So no matter who you face against, you can't just walk into a game and say, okay, we're going to walk and win over them. Those days are gone. As you can see, Nigeria, Zimbabwe,
Sure.
And today I must say, the football gods were on our side. Because 1-1.
And if you look at
you take a look at Group B, you've got Sudan, DR Congo, and Senegal third. Can you believe that? After 5 matches being played, Senegal are third, and Sudan is number 1. So truly no small teams. But what we do know is that South Africa is a big deal. South Africa is a big team. Africa stand up. USA, we are coming to make our mark. That's what the group looks like after 6 matches being played throughout the groups. Zimbabwe with their point, they sit on 4th. And you look at top, South Africa, Bafana, with a +5 goal average, 13 points.
We're doing so well. And in the beginning of this show, I told you that this is the generation that I believe they deserve to go to USA. And they qualify without, those vector that we normally
Not
see.
mad.
Without calculators that we normally pull out of our school bags. This is the moment where I believe the players we've got young teams that I believe when they go to this big stage, I don't think a lot of them will come back here.
No, I don't think so as well. Of course, Hugo Bruce, you got to give him credit. Well done to the boys. To be performing like this at the World Cup qualifiers, this is unbelievable. This is it makes anyone want to watch Bafana again. Want to go to games and support him. And this is brilliant.
So there's still 12 points to play for. So it's far from over. With 12 points to play for in the 4 matches, it's still far from over. So let's take a look over. I'm not reading that well, so we're gonna we're gonna bring that back properly. But the 4 matches we have left, as you can tell, there's Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, and then so those are the matches we're going to play.
Our next fixture is Lesotho.
Lesotho first, here at home.
Which for me it should be a big 3 points. When we go to Nigeria, we should be very high in confidence, and I believe we stand at we've got what it takes after these performances that we just saw now.
We're going to try and fix that page there and show it to you again so that we can see those games. Because the big thing about that is we're at home.
Yeah, Daryl said it.
We're at home.
You have the 12th man up in the stadium.
If we look at what happened in Cape Town, you look at what happened in Bloemfontein, you look at what happened in Polokwane, there is nowhere where Bafana plays in this country where they're not the biggest team. There is nowhere where South Africans are not watching on SABC and the banners of SABC are flying high because we've been Bafana Bafana's biggest supporters.
I think you must buy me a Bafana Bafana t-shirt. I want to go to the stadium.
You don't have one?
I don't have.
You're very little trouble. But I'll make a play and I'll speak to some people that know some people. So here it is now. The 4 matches remaining. Lesotho, it shows there as an away match, of course, for South Africa, but they play their their games in South Africa.
Yeah, of course, the majority again that we had, it's in our favor. As you just mentioned, Lesotho is like a home game. And of course, when you play South Africa at home, with the amount of fans that are supporting Bafana Bafana, there's no way we can afford to lose these games, because when you have the fans behind you and screaming and shouting and supporting you, you saw the last game, how nice it was to watch them play. It was actually attractive football. And that's why, I love it when Lesotho play in our country at home against us.
And we don't have to do anything new, man.
And Nigeria coming here, remember, they're coming here. We've done the away part. This is our turn.
Yeah, Bafana Bafana, they don't have to do anything new. The performance that we saw we just witnessed now, they just have to bring it into these last 4 matches. We're home and run.
Well, the most points that any of these teams can get, of course, sitting in second position in Rwanda is 20, because it's 12 plus the 8 that they've gotten. So Bafana Bafana with 13 points at the moment, 8 points mathematically gets us through. 8 points from these matches. There's 12 points to be gotten here. 8 is what we need.
Well, one thing Bafana must realize, they mustn't be in their comfortable zone, because things can turn easily. They must keep on being focused, keep on having that camaraderie in the team, the mentality that you want to win. What they've been doing in the last games, they should keep on doing it. Do not lack, because now you're in the driving seat, you think you're first on the table, you can take it easy. Telling you, football can 2 feet you off your feet.
Well, we're going to 2 feet out of your television. Thank you so much for being joined us. He's Darren, he's Tom.